Welcome to Ethics Training, presented by the Board of Ethics and Government Accountability.
Hey, Tyrell.
Hey, Joe, good to see you again. Got some more projects for inspection?
Sure do. I brought this along to see if I can put you in the inspecting mood.
Oh, nice. Did you say those new iPads? My kids love the old ones.
Yikes! I'm guessing most of you can look at this and assume there is something fishy going on here. Believe it or not, this situation actually happened, and the people involved got into a lot of trouble. Let's take a look at this situation again, shall we?
Sorry, man, but we can't accept gifts from people who do business with our agency.
Bummer, man. How about tickets to tonight's game?
Sorry, gotta pass.
Dinner tomorrow night?
No can do, sorry.
Public service is a public trust. As district employees, we are not allowed to ask for or accept gifts from people we regulate or hire. We're not supposed to let gifts affect our work with each other either.
Cindy, what's with the flowers and the big gift card?
Well, boss, we all figured that since our employee evaluations are coming up, that you will be stressed and tired after filling out those forms. So we thought that you might really enjoy flowers and a nice massage.
A massage?
While a birthday card or other small token is fine, in general, supervisors just can't accept gifts from their subordinates, especially when it looks like the employee is trying to affect the supervisor's decision.
Oh, Cindy, that's really nice. I can't accept it though, but we can put the flowers at the reception area just this once.
By now, you may be wondering how you can avoid ethics pitfalls. You can always call BEGA. BEGA is the DC Board of Ethics and Government Accountability. They have specialists that can help you sort out what to do about any ethics issue you're facing.
So now that that's all taken care of, the last and final item on the agenda is who you should be voting for in the upcoming election.
You can support candidates or ballot measures. You just can't do it at work. And you can't try to influence your colleagues.
Hey, Derek. How'd you get out here? Thought your car was out of commission.
Oh, I figured the district wouldn't mind if I used this fleet share vehicle this weekend while my car was in the shop.
Just like city resources shouldn't be used for politics, they shouldn't be used for personal reasons either. Good luck there, Derek.
James, can I have a lift?
Our commitment to ethics continues even when our employment with the district ends. BEGA will provide one-on-one post-employment ethics counseling to anyone who's left the district government, anytime. The staff of BEGA is ready to help you with any of your ethics questions. Remember, call us before you act. It's up to all of us to ensure that our city's government operates ethically and efficiently. We look forward to helping you.
The Board of Ethics and Government Accountability, also known as BEGA, is an independent agency of the district government. It was created in 2012 as a comprehensive approach to government ethics reform in the District of Columbia. The Council's intent when drafting the Ethics Act was to resolve the numerous ethical problems surrounding elected officials and district employees. BEGA is charged exclusively with administering and enforcing the district's ethics laws. The board itself consists of a 5-member panel of individuals that are appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the council. Our statute of limitations is 5 years. BEGA has jurisdiction over the entire district government and its instrumentalities, including members of the executive branch, legislative branch, independent agencies, advisory neighborhood commissions, and all boards and commissions. Within the BEGA structure, there is the Office of Open Government, which has oversight of government transparency and provides Open Meetings Act and Freedom of Information Act training. There is also the Office of Government Ethics, which handles ethics matters and is comprised of attorneys, investigators, as well as support staff. To meet its statutory obligations of administering the district's ethics rules, the staff at BEGA has several duties and responsibilities. The majority of what we do is to provide ethics trainings and advice. We offer a general ethics training and a variety of specialized trainings on topics such as financial disclosure statements, Hatch Act, gifts, post-employment, and many other ethics topics. We provide informal ethics advice to all district government employees via oral communication, email, or through our ethics manual. We also offer formal advice in the form of a written advisory opinion, which is legally binding, provides safe harbor to the requesting employee, and serves as guidance for future similar issues. In addition to BEGA's advice giving, there resides in each agency an ethics counselor who provides non-binding ethics advice. Employees are free to seek advice from their agency's ethics counselor, or they may contact us. To meet its statutory obligations of enforcing the district's ethics rules, BEGA investigates alleged ethics violations. We often receive complaints of ethical misconduct by district employees from various sources. Those complaints may trigger a preliminary or formal investigation. A preliminary investigation is a confidential matter, whereas a formal investigation is presented to the board and the Director of Government Ethics may request subpoena authority from the board. During an investigation, if the Director of Government Ethics believes that an ethics violation has been committed, he may bring enforcement proceedings against that particular employee. An open and adversarial hearing is held before the board, and the director has the burden of proving that the employee violated the ethics rules. That employee is afforded Fifth Amendment rights against self-incrimination, as well as the right to be represented by counsel. BEGA is also responsible for financial disclosure statement filings, which are due every May 15th of each year. We have oversight over lobbyist registrations and activity reports, and to ensure that employees are aware of the ethics rules, we created an ethics manual, which is readily available in print and on our website. The Director of Government Ethics has the authority to impose ministerial fines upon those who have engaged in ethical misconduct. The Director may also impose a non-public informal admonition or a period of probation, which may be expunged and are appealable to the board. These sanctions are typically reserved for low-level offenses. For more serious violations, the board has the authority to impose fines of up to $5,000 per violation, or 3 times the amount of an unlawful gift or contribution. Other potential sanctions include remedial action, a public censure, or a period of probation. These sanctions can either be imposed following an adversarial hearing, or, if an employee wishes to settle the matter without a hearing, through what is known as a negotiated disposition with the director. This settlement document, which would also contain an agreed-upon sanction, must be approved by the board in order to fully resolve the case. Many of the district's ethics rules have federal criminal counterparts, which carry criminal penalties. Employees should be aware that if they are found to have violated a local ethics rule, they are subject to both the federal and local penalties. Penalties imposed by BEGA are separate and apart from any corrective or disciplinary action taken by the employing agency. BEGA does not have authority to make personnel or management-related decisions. Thus, employees could be terminated and still be subject to BEGA's sanctions. Employees have the option to either seek ethics advice from their agency ethics counselors or BEGA. Agency ethics counselors provide non-binding ethics advice on settled principles of government ethics laws. If the question cannot be simply answered by citing an applicable rule, referring to the ethics manual, or by prior written advisory opinion, agency ethics counselors often contact BEGA. To find out who your agency ethics counselor is, contact your agency's general counsel's office. Employees have a duty to abide by the district's ethics laws and cooperate with the enforcement of those laws. Failure to do so is a violation. Employees must immediately and directly report credible ethics violations to BEGA, the Office of the Inspector General, or both. If you see something, say something. An employee may report a violation to BEGA by either calling our office in person or via email. Our investigations are confidential and the identity of the complainant will not be revealed. An employee who chooses to remain anonymous may do so by omitting their name on the complaint form. Second, employees shall not interfere with or obstruct an investigation conducted by the district or a federal agency. Third, employees shall fully cooperate with any investigation, enforcement action, or official function of the Office of Government Ethics. In other words, if an employee is contacted for questioning for an investigation or to testify for an enforcement proceeding, the employee must comply, and its failure to do so is a violation. Fourth, employees shall not face coercion, harassment, or retaliatory action for acting in good faith under the ethics rules. The district's ethics rules are comprised of various different statutes and regulations, which are referred to as the Code of Conduct. It establishes the ethical standards for all district employees. This training will cover the most important provisions of the Code of Conduct. Employees are prohibited from accepting a gift in return for being influenced in the performance or non-performance of an official act. Employees are also prohibited from soliciting or coercing the offering of a gift. The District Personnel Manual, referred to as the DPM, restricts employees' acceptance of gifts in 3 different ways. As a general rule, employees are prohibited from accepting gifts from prohibited sources, gifts that are given because of the employee's official title or position, and gifts given by a subordinate to a supervisor. A gift can be considered as an item that has monetary value. The DPM broadly defines a gift as any gratuity, favor, discount, entertainment, hospitality, loan, forbearance, or other item having monetary value. It includes services as well as gifts of training, transportation, local travel, lodging, and meals. This includes gifts that are given directly to an employee by purchase of a ticket, payment in advance, or reimbursement after an expense has been incurred. Because the definition of a gift is very broad, it is easier to define those things that are not considered gifts. A gift does not include modest items of food and refreshments offered other than as part of a meal, such as coffee and donuts or desserts. Items with little intrinsic value, which are intended solely for presentation. This includes plaques, certificates, greeting cards, and trophies, which may bear the employee's name and do not have a market value. Unsolicited advertising or promotional items of nominal value, such as pens and notepads. While these items are not considered gifts, employees should be careful not to display them in a manner that would appear that they prefer that entity over another. Admission to and cost of food and beverages of nominal value consumed at civic, charitable, government, hosted receptions, or community organizations. Nominal value is $10. Discounts available to all district government employees, opposed to discounts that are only available to a particular agency or a unit within an agency. Rewards or contest prizes open to the public, and anything for which you pay market value is not a gift. As a general rule, employees are prohibited from directly or indirectly soliciting or accepting a gift from a prohibited source. This rule ensures that employees do not accept gifts which are given with the intent to influence the performance or non-performance of their duties. It applies to gifts that are solicited or accepted directly or indirectly. Examples of prohibited sources include contractors, lobbyists, vendors, developers, those individuals or businesses that are regulated by your agency or seek to do business with your agency. Usually, prohibited sources offer gifts to employees with the intent of gaining some sort of benefit. Test your knowledge. A nonprofit organization I dealt with previously when it had grants from my agency recently contacted me and offered me free tickets to an event. The tickets are expensive and I'd really like to go. By the way, the person who called mentioned that they're in the process of putting together their application for a grant in the upcoming year. Can I accept the tickets? The answer is no. The nonprofit organization is a prohibited source because it seeks to do business with your agency. Therefore, you cannot accept the tickets. Employees are prohibited from directly or indirectly accepting or soliciting gifts which are given because of the employee's official title or position, regardless of whether or not the offerer is a prohibited source. This rule also prohibits the indirect acceptance or solicitation of gifts. That includes gifts that are accepted or solicited by a person other than an employee and would not have been solicited, offered, or given if not for the employee's governmental status or position. In other words, gifts that are accepted or solicited by an employee's family member only because of the employee's status and with that employee's knowledge or acquiescence are prohibited. Also, this rule does not allow for gifts that are given to another person or entity, such as a charity, on the basis of designation, recommendation, or other specification by the employee. Employees should be mindful of this rule when listing their government employment on social media websites. Companies or other outside entities, including prohibited sources, may try to contact you and offer you gifts due to your government employment. Basically, employees should not solicit or accept gifts that are given in connection with their district employment. 18 United States Code Section 209, also known as the Salary Supplementation Rule, makes it a federal crime to accept compensation from any source other than a district government for performing your job or providing services as a district government employee. No one should pay you for your district job except for the district. For example, a contractor says, "I know you've been working extra hard on this contract and your agency cannot pay overtime. Let me help you out a bit." The employee faced with this situation should reject the offer and inform the contractor that it is unlawful to accept such compensation. Employees should not accept gifts at all, if possible. But there are exceptions to the rule that employees are prohibited from accepting or soliciting gifts from outside sources. Employees may accept, even from a prohibited source, an unsolicited gift that is worth $10 or less, except when the offer of the gift would appear to a reasonable person to be intended to influence the employee in his or her official duties. The reasonable person in this rule is based on an objective standard. Employees should be mindful when accepting gifts under this section because the acceptance of such gifts can be easily construed as a violation. Second, employees may accept a gift that is given clearly because of some type of family or personal relationship. Gifts that fall under this category are obviously not accepted because of the employee's title or position, but on the basis of the relationship he or she shares with the person offering the gift. Third, employees may accept meals, lodging, and transportation when clearly not given because of the employee's official position. For example, an employee's spouse received a gift of admission to a conference from his employer. The cost of the conference includes the hotel reservation and airfare for two. The spouse is allowed to bring an extra person, and the employee tags along as his or her plus one. Clearly, the employee's acceptance of the lodging and transportation is separate from his government employment and are the result of his spouse's employment. This rule also includes gifts that employees accept as a result of an authorized outside business or employment.
Ask Miss Ethics.
How may I help you?
Hey, Miss Ethics, is it okay for me to accept a free ticket to Comic-Con?
Well, is the ticket from a vendor or contractor?
Yes, they're the organizers. By attending, we can bring more business investments to D.C.
So you're representing the best interests of your agency?
Yes, there's lots of people for me to meet here.
Do you have a costume?
Of course.
Go. Make lots of contacts. Just make sure your office signs off on your attendance.
Thanks, Miss Ethics.
Ask Miss Ethics.
Another exception to the rule on accepting gifts is the acceptance of free attendance to certain events. When the gift includes free attendance to an event, there are two rules that apply. First, if an employee is assigned to participate as a speaker or panelist, or otherwise to present information on behalf of the agency at a conference or other event, his acceptance of an offer of free attendance at the event on the day of his presentation is permissible. In this instance, the employee's participation in the event on that day is viewed as a customary and necessary part of his assignment, and does not involve a gift to him or to the agency. Second, an employee may accept an unsolicited gift of free attendance at all or appropriate parts of a widely attended gathering. The employee's attendance must be in the best interest of the agency and will further agency programs and operations as determined by the mayor or designee in writing. If the employee attends the event in his official capacity, then the gift must come from the sponsor of the event. If the gift is offered by someone other than the sponsor of the event must be attended by 50 persons or more, and the gift of free attendance must have a market value of $350 or less. In both instances, employees may accept free attendance even from a prohibited source.
Ask Miss Ethics.
How may I help you?
Miss Ethics, I've just been offered an honorarium to give a talk about a hot topic. Can I accept it?
Are you speaking in your official capacity?
Well, yeah, it is what my agency does.
If you're representing the D.C. government, you can't accept an honorarium.
What if we call it a stipend or a speaker's fee?
That's a no-no as well.
Thanks anyway, Miss Ethics.
Mm-hmm.
Ask Miss Ethics.
If an employee is offered a gift that cannot be accepted, the employee must always inform the person offering the gift that the ethics rules do not permit acceptance of the gift, and either return the gift, donate the gift to a nonprofit charity or the district, or reimburse the donor the market value of the gift. If the gift is a perishable item, such as a fruit basket or dessert, and returning it would be impractical, the employee can share it with the office, which means placing the item in a common area, donate it to charity, or destroy it. It is important to note that sharing the gift with the office or donating it to charity is a one-time only option per donor. In other words, employees only get one bite at the apple and cannot accept multiple perishable gifts from the same donor under the guise that it will be shared with the office. The final prohibition that the DPM places on gifts is the restriction on the exchange of gifts between employees. The first general rule states that employees are prohibited from giving, donating to, or soliciting contributions for a gift to an official supervisor. The second rule prohibits employees from accepting a gift from an employee who receives less pay, as a subordinate to a supervisor. However, a supervisor may accept a gift from a subordinate if the two employees are not in an official supervisor and subordinate relationship, there is a personal relationship between the two employees that would justify the gift, such as a family member or long-time friendship, and the gift was not given to solicit or gain any type of professional advantage. Finally, it is never acceptable for an official supervisor to coerce a subordinate to make or contribute to a gift. Exceptions to this rule include gifts given for holidays and birthdays, which occur on an occasional basis and for which gifts are traditionally given or exchanged. This includes gifts other than cash with an aggregate market value of $10 or less per occasion, such as a $10 sporting event ticket, items of food and refreshments to be shared in the office among several employees, such as a birthday cake or entree prepared at an employee's home, personal hospitality provided at a residence, and items in connection with the receipt of personal hospitality. For example, an employee may invite their superior to their home for a birthday dinner and could offer the superior a bottle of wine during or after dinner. It would be acceptable for the superior to accept the invitation and the bottle of wine. Another exception covers those very infrequent occasions, such as marriage, illness, or the birth or adoption of a child, as well as occasions that terminate the subordinate and official supervisor relationship, such as retirement, resignation, or transfer. Since occasions under this exception rarely occur, employees are not limited by the amount they are allowed to spend on a gift. For example, an employee wants to buy their supervisor a baby shower gift costing $40. The employee is permitted to do so, and the supervisor may accept the gift. In addition, employees are allowed to solicit up to $10 from fellow employees for any of the very infrequent occasions, as well as on an occasional basis for the purchase of food and refreshments to be shared in the office. Any solicitation must be voluntary, and employees cannot exclude those who fail to contribute. Test your knowledge. An employee wants to give a holiday gift costing $20 to his supervisor. Is this permissible? The answer is no. $10 non-cash gift is the limit. Holiday gifts are considered permissible because it is an occasion on which gifts are traditionally given. But employees may only give a gift costing $10 or less. Can I ask others to contribute to the holiday gift for my boss? No. Solicitation is not permitted for occasional events. Test your knowledge. An employee wants to ask their coworkers to chip in and buy their supervisor a retirement gift. Is this permissible? Yes, it is permissible if the contributions towards the gift are voluntary, the amount of each contribution is nominal, up to $10. A retirement is a special, infrequent occasion. The district personnel manual does not prohibit employees from fundraising or soliciting for charitable purposes within the office. However, the DPM prohibits employees from using public office for private gain. Thus, there are certain restrictions that apply to charitable fundraising within the office. First, donation boxes, sign-up sheets, and any other fundraising materials must be posted or placed in a common area or public place in the office, such as a break room or waiting area. It may not be placed in an employee's office or cubicle. Second, any contributions must be given voluntarily. In order to avoid the appearance that items or funds being collected or expected from employees are mandatory, the initiator of the fundraising cannot be in a management position. Third, the names of outside entities, whether sponsoring or benefiting from the fundraising, cannot be placed on the boxes. This rule avoids giving the appearance that the district is sponsoring the fundraiser or that the government prefers one organization over another. Some employees have elected to place the purpose of the fundraiser on the outside of the donation box, which is permissible. Fourth, an employee cannot directly solicit donations from each individual employee, meaning that employees may not directly solicit donations by bringing catalogs, sign-up sheets, or other fundraising lists to other employees' workstations. When using social media to fundraise, employees are not allowed to use their government title, position, or any authority connected with the district government to further the fundraising. It is imperative that employees make an effort to make it apparent that they are fundraising in their personal capacities. Also, the employee may not solicit funds or other support from a subordinate or a prohibited source. Here is an example of permissible fundraising within the office.
Ask Miss Ethics.
How can I help you?
Hi, my relative's applying for a job at my agency. What's the process?
Are you a supervisor?
Yes, and I'm also on the committee that interviews potential candidates.
Well, you're not allowed to help your relative get hired.
So she can't apply?
No, I didn't say that. She can apply, but you need to submit a written recusal, and you can't participate in the hiring process.
I'll write it now. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Ask Miss Ethics.
Nepotism is the restriction on the hiring and advancing of relatives by employees who are considered hiring officials. A hiring official is an employee to whom authority is vested or delegated to select, appoint, employ, promote, reassign, demote, separate, or recommend individuals for any of these actions. Hiring officials may not directly or indirectly make a hiring decision regarding a position within his or her agency with respect to a relative. The term hiring decision not only includes choosing a relative for a position, but it also includes appointing, employing, promoting, reassigning, advancing, or advocating a personnel action. When an agency contemplates making a hiring decision concerning a relative of a hiring official, the official must file a written recusal, which shall be included in the relative's personnel file. The hiring official must then recuse himself from the hiring process. The definition of relative includes brother, sister, mother, father, uncle, aunt, spouse, children, niece, nephew, first cousin, in-laws, and step-relatives. Violations of the nepotism rule carry stiff penalties for the hiring official and the relative. The hiring official faces disciplinary action, which includes removal, in order to pay restitution to the district for any gains received by a relative, and beggar penalties. The relative will be immediately fired without discretion. Wearing too many hats? District employees must be cautious that their outside activities do not affect their government employment. While the ethics rules do not prohibit employees from engaging in outside employment and activities, there are certain restrictions that apply.
Ask Miss Ethics.
How can I help you?
Miss Ethics, I need some extra cash. Am I allowed to have a part-time job?
You are. Will it conflict with your regular work hours?
No, it'll just be evenings and weekends.
Does your part-time job have anything to do with your DC job?
Well, our agency funds some of their projects with grants.
Then you'll want to find another part-time job, one that doesn't have any matters with your agency.
Okay, I'll find something else. Thanks, Miss Ethics.
Sure.
Ask Miss Ethics.
A district government employee shall not engage in any outside employment or other activity that is incompatible with the full and proper discharge of his or her duties and responsibilities. Activities that are incompatible with government employment include, but are not limited to, number 1, activities that are likely to interfere with the employee's ability to perform his or her job, especially those that physically or mentally restrict the employee's performance. Number 2, those activities which may impair the efficient operation of the district government. Number 3, activities which require using government time or resources for other than official business. Employees may not engage in any outside activity during their tour of duty or using government property. Number 4, an activity in which the employee maintains a financial or economic interest in or serving as an officer or director of an outside entity if there is any likelihood that such entity might be involved in any official action or decision taken or recommendation by the employee. Number 5, activities that allow the employee or others to capitalize on the employee's official title or position. For example, an employee allows his outside employer to list only his government title and duties on the company's website. Number 6, activities that require an employee to divulge non-public government information to unauthorized persons. Number 7, serving in a representative capacity as an agent or attorney for any outside entity involving any matter before the district. The prohibition against representing an outside entity restricts making personal appearances before the district, signing documents that are to be submitted to a district agency, or making phone calls or sending emails to the district. Number 8, your outside activity may not violate the federal or district laws. Test your knowledge. I sometimes do volunteer work for my neighborhood civic association, which is a nonprofit entity. The association has asked me to prepare and sign a grant application requesting grant funds from a district government agency. I work for another agency, and there is no overlap with my governmental duties and the civic association. Can I do as they ask? The answer is no. Your signature on the grant application amounts to you serving in a representative capacity for the Neighborhood Civic Association, an outside entity, in a matter before the district government, which is prohibited. Employees are permitted to engage in teaching, writing, and speaking activities outside of regular working hours or while on leave. However, the information used by an employee shall not draw on official data or ideas which have not become public information, unless written authorization is given by the agency head. If the employee receives compensation or anything of monetary value, the subject matter shall not be devoted substantially to the responsibilities, programs, or operations of his or her agency, duties or responsibilities, or to information obtained from his or her government employment. Employees must know these rules before speaking at an event and should understand how to represent their viewpoint without crossing boundaries for their agency. Employees should keep these restrictions in mind in the context of social media as well. The same rule applies to engaging in paid blogging. Employees are encouraged to use a disclaimer that states that they are operating in their personal capacity. Employees have a duty to protect and conserve government's property and shall not use such property or allow its use for other than authorized purposes. The definition of government property includes any and all property that are owned or leased by the government and includes computers, telephones, office equipment, and vehicles, etc. Authorized purposes are those purposes for which government property is made available to members of the public, or those purposes authorized by an agency head in accordance with law or regulation. Employees should not use government property for personal usage, but only use it for official government business. However, not all unauthorized use of government property will constitute an ethics violation. Those instances where usage does not result in an additional expense to the government are referred to as de minimis usage and are not considered ethics violations. Some examples include checking your personal email during your lunch break, infrequently using a copy machine to make personal copies, or occasionally making a personal call using your government-issued cell phone. Here is a case where a government employee used a government credit card for personal usage. The employee received a criminal penalty and was ordered to pay restitution to the district.
Ask Miss Ethics.
How may I help you?
Miss Ethics, my agency's looking for a new vendor, and my wife's IT company would be perfect.
That sounds like a conflict of interest.
My wife wouldn't be involved, but it is her company.
Well, her company could still apply, but you would need to recuse yourself. That means you can't have anything to do with the matter.
So I just say I can't help decide?
You'll write an official recusal letter and stay out of the process. Bega can help.
Thanks, Miss Ethics.
Ask Miss Ethics.
The district's financial conflicts of interest law prohibits employees from taking any action that could financially benefit themselves or a person closely affiliated with them, such as a business partner or family member. The law states, no employee shall use his or her official title or position or personally and substantially participate through decision, approval, recommendation, the rendering of advice, investigation, or otherwise in a manner that the employee knows is likely to have a direct and predictable effect on the employee's financial interests or the financial interests of a person closely affiliated with the employee. Before a potential conflict of interest occurs, the employee must recuse himself from any involvement in the matter. The phrase, person closely affiliated with the employee means a spouse, dependent child, general partner, a member of the employee's household, or an affiliated organization. An affiliated organization includes an organization or entity in which the employee or a member of his household serves as an officer, director, trustee, general partner, owner, or stockholder worth $1,000, or that is a client of the employee or a member of the employee's household, or a person with whom the employee is negotiating for or has an arrangement concerning prospective employment. A violation of the district's financial conflict of interest law is also a violation of the federal law. Punishment includes civil penalties issued pursuant to the Ethics Act and federal criminal penalties. Employees should also be mindful of the financial conflicts of interest law when negotiating for employment. Remember, the definition of a person closely affiliated includes a person with whom the employee is negotiating for or has an arrangement concerning prospective employment. If any matters involving that potential employer is assigned to the employee, recusal is the only option. Not only do the ethics rules apply while you are employed by the district government, some rules will apply once you leave government service. There are 3 types of post-employment restrictions that apply to former government employees. The permanent prohibition prohibits a former government employee who participated personally and substantially in a particular government matter involving a specific party from knowingly acting as an agent, attorney, or representative in any formal or informal appearance before an agency, as well as communicating with an agency on behalf of another with the intent to influence that agency. The definition of a particular matter includes investigation, application, determination, contract, controversy, claim, accusation, charge, arrest, or judicial or other proceeding. The term participate personally and substantially means action taken as an employee through decision, approval, disapproval, recommendation, the rendering of advice, investigation, or other such action. Bottom line, no communications or appearances concerning matters that meet this criteria. This rule lasts for the entire life of that particular matter and is meant to restrict former employees from helping outside entities to gain an advantage because of the former employee's knowledge over that particular matter. The 2-year prohibition restricts former employees who previously had official responsibility over a matter from knowingly acting as an attorney, agent, or representative before an agency regarding that matter. A matter for which the former employee had official responsibility is any matter that was actually pending under the former employee's responsibility within a 1-year period before the termination of such responsibility. This rule mainly applies to employees who perform in a management capacity. An employee who supervises a matter but does not have substantial involvement in it is considered to have official responsibility over the matter and is subject to this rule. Employees are also prohibited from providing behind-the-scenes assistance for entities that appear before the district. This rule does not apply to all behind-the-scenes assistance. It applies only to the assistance that is given with the intent that the entity will use it to influence the government. Therefore, an employee who has gained a certain expertise as a result of his government employment terminates his service with the district and is hired by a company may assist the company by using such expertise, only if the company does not intend to use the information to influence the government's decision. The 1-year prohibition, which is also known as the cooling off period, applies to all employees the same, regardless of their involvement in a specific matter. It prohibits a former employee from having any transactions with the intent to influence his former agency regarding any pending matter. The phrase, with the intent to influence, not only involves seeking government approval, benefit, or ruling, but also includes affecting government action in connection with an issue. The restriction shall apply without regard to whether the former employee participated in the matter, and shall include matters which first arise after the employee leaves government service. Employees should note that the rule does not apply to all communications with a former agency, but only those expressed with the intent to influence the agency. Therefore, a former employee may contact his former co-workers to discuss personnel matters or to ask general questions. District employees are subject to the federal post-employment rules, which hold criminal penalties. BEGA understands that this is a complicated subject area, so we provide special post-employment training. To avoid violating these rules, we suggest that employees seek our advice prior to leaving government service. In fact, we provide free post-employment advice forever. There are exceptions to the 1-year cooling off period. A former employee can appear before his former agency, number 1, if the former employee is needed to furnish scientific or technological information to his former agency. Number 2, if the former employee is an elected official or employee of a state or local government and is acting on behalf of that government. Number 3, to give testimony under oath. Number 4, on personal matters such as income taxes, licensures, or pension benefits. Or number 5, if the employee is appearing for litigation or an administrative proceeding. Test your knowledge. I left the district government approximately 2 months ago and went into business for myself. One of my clients has a payment issue with my former agency and wants me to see if I can work with the agency to get the payment approved. My client assures me that he did not have any dealings with my former agency during the time that I worked there. Can I contact my former co-workers for assistance? The answer is no. Because you left your former agency less than 1 year ago, you are prohibited from having any transactions, appearances, or communications with your former agency with the intent to influence the agency in a matter in which it has a direct and substantial interest. It doesn't matter that the issue did not arise until after you left the agency. Test your knowledge. I left the district government, specifically the Department of Motor Vehicles, 6 months ago. My license expires this month. Am I prohibited from going to the DMV to get my license renewed? The answer is no. There is a special exception for matters of a personal nature, such as taxes, pension, and licensure for yourself, but not others. The local hat tax became effective on March 7, 2013, and governs the political activities of district government employees.
Ask Miss Ethics.
How may I help you?
Miss Ethics, my coworker tells me I can't support my favorite candidate in the election. Is that true?
That is not true. You can support your candidate.
Oh, good.
But you can't do it at work.
So I can still post on social media?
You can, but you can't do it at work. And you can't use your work phone or laptop.
Not even in the bathroom?
Not anywhere at work.
Okay, I'll use my personal phone at home. Thanks.
You do that.
Ask Miss Ethics.
Not all activity is considered political activity. Political activity is defined as any activity that is directed towards the success or failure of a political party, candidate for partisan political office, partisan political group, ballot initiative, or referendum. Some of the rules set forth by the Local Hatch Act apply differently depending on whether the political activity is for a local district-regulated election or an election that is regulated by another jurisdiction. The phrase district-regulated political activity means any election, ballot initiative, or referendum that is regulated by the D.C. Board of Elections. Persons considered employees under the Local Hatch Act include any individual paid by the D.C. government from grant or appropriated funds for his or her services, any member of a board or commission nominated pursuant to Section 2E of the Confirmation Act of 1978, unpaid members of a board or commission nominated pursuant to Section 2F of the Confirmation Act of 1978, when the member is engaged in political activity that relates to the subject matter that the member's board or commission regulates. The following persons are not considered employees and are not subject to the Hatch Act. Those include employees of the court, the mayor, members of the council, ANC commissioners, members of State Board of Education, members of the District of Columbia Statehood Delegation, and the Attorney General. Most of the individuals that are listed, with the exception of employees of the court, must engage in political activity in order to hold such positions. These individuals are not subject to the Local Hatch Act, but are restricted by other laws that govern their political activity. When engaging in district campaigns or elections, employees are prohibited from fundraising, except if the employee has filed as a candidate for political office. This means that employees are prohibited from knowingly soliciting, accepting, or receiving a political contribution from any person for the purpose of promoting or opposing a political party, candidate for partisan political office, or partisan political group that is regulated by the district. For example, an employee may not host a fundraiser for a candidate who is running for mayor, council member, or attorney general within the district. This rule only prohibits employees from engaging in, hosting, co-hosting, or sponsoring a fundraiser. Employees are allowed to attend fundraisers and may even contribute to a candidate's campaign. This fundraising restriction applies to online activity as well, and employees may not fundraise using social media. Employees are also prohibited from filing as a candidate for election to a partisan political office. Partisan political office is defined as any office in the district government for which any candidate is nominated or elected as representing a political party. In other words, employees are prohibited from running for mayor, council member, or attorney general within the district. Advisory, neighborhood commissioner, and members of the State Board of Education are not partisan offices, so an employee may file as a candidate for one of these offices. In some instances, employees are completely prohibited from engaging in political activity. These rules apply to all political activity, whether or not the activity is related to a district election, or an election that is regulated by another jurisdiction. Employees are prohibited from engaging in all political activity, number one, while on duty, which means when an employee is in a pay status other than leave or representing the district in their official capacity. Number two, in any room or building occupied in the discharge of official duties in the D.C. government, including any agency or instrumentality thereof. Number three, while wearing a uniform or official government insignia identifying the office or position of the employee. And number four, while using any vehicle owned or leased by the district. In addition, employees may not coerce, explicitly or implicitly, any subordinate employee to engage in political activity, nor use their official authority or influence to interfere with or affect the results of an election. A meet and greet event is an event where a candidate can meet and greet members of the community. Organizing such an event is permissible political activity because the local Hatch Act permits district employees to take an active part in political management and campaigns. However, we have found that meet and greet events often turn into fundraisers, and employees are prohibited from fundraising for district-regulated campaigns. There is a fine line between a meet and greet and a fundraiser. The meet and greet is usually a precursor to the fundraiser. Therefore, if the meet and greet is for a district-regulated candidate and for fundraising purposes, employees are prohibited from taking an active part in the event other than attending. An employee cannot host a meet and greet that turns into a fundraiser. Test your knowledge. I'm a district government employee paid entirely with district funds. I reside in the district, but my childhood friend is running for office in Maryland on a partisan ticket. Am I permitted to campaign for my friend? The answer is yes. The local Hatch Act does not prohibit employees from campaigning for non-district elections. Am I permitted to fundraise for my friend? The answer is yes. Employees are permitted to fundraise for non-district elections. Employees may not fundraise for a candidate that is running for mayor, council member, or attorney general within the district. Test your knowledge. I received an email from a partisan political candidate in my district government email inbox. Have I violated the local Hatch Act? The answer is no. Employees cannot control the types of emails that they receive in their inboxes. I forwarded the email to my coworkers. Have I now violated the local Hatch Act? The answer is yes. By forwarding that email, you have engaged in political activity. For ethics advice, employees may contact the Office of Government Ethics via telephone, hotline, or email. Employees are free to visit our website to check out any advisory opinions or current dispositions. OSCE employees may also contact their agency ethics counselors. We are here to provide ethics advice for any questions that you may have.